Before Jinwoo uses the cup of reincarnation to turn back time by 10 years, he makes a heartfelt promise to Cha-hae that he will meet her again. Their brief encounter is filled with unspoken emotions, and Jinwoo silently vows to cross paths with her in the future. Meanwhile, Woo Jinchul has become a police officer in the Violent Crimes Division. Woo Jinchul feels as though he has forgotten something important, and the more he thinks about it, the more he feels an emptiness inside. His fellow officer notices his deep thoughts and offers him a cup of coffee. Woo Jinchul thanks him for the coffee and decides to focus on his work instead of dwelling on his feelings. As they arrive at the station, Woo Jinchul notices a group of men trembling in fear. One of the men confesses that a monster emerged from a shadow, warned him to confess his crimes to the police within 24 hours or face regret for the rest of his life. The man begs the police to arrest him, and Woo Jinchul is startled by his desperation. He wonders how to report this strange situation to his higher-ups. The senior officer calls Woo Jinchul to the meeting room and instructs a junior officer to take statements from the confessed men. The senior officer decides to release the men temporarily to see if their claims about the shadow are true. Woo Jinchul is shocked by this decision, but the senior officer explains that they need to catch the real culprit behind the situation. He plans to leave the confessed men free for 20 hours to confirm their story. Woo Jinchul suspects that the men might be under the influence of drugs and dismisses their claims as hallucinations. Another officer informs them that the drug tests came back clean and that he personally verified the results with the National Forensic Service. The senior officer remarks that the situation makes no sense, as the men who have no connection to each other are all confessing to crimes after seeing the same shadow. He adds that their higher-ups are pressuring them to find the truth and insists that they have no choice but to investigate further. Woo Jinchul begins to wonder if the confessed men's story might be true. His colleagues laugh at the idea and tease him for believing in ghosts. They joke about his imaginative side, and Woo Jinchul laughs along to hide his real feelings. The senior officer announces that the confessed men will be taken to a storage room where a group of officers will guard them to ensure they cannot escape. He adds that if the men's story is true, it will be a good thing, and asks for volunteers to keep watch. The senior officer asks Woo Jinchul if he is interested in the case. After thinking for a moment, Woo Jinchul decides to volunteer. They take one of the confessed men to the storage room, and the man begins shouting that he will die. The senior officer tries to calm him down and explains that they just need to confirm his story. The man insists that he will surely die. The senior officer reassures him that they will protect him from the monster and notices that only 10 minutes remain until the deadline. Woo Jinchul suddenly feels the air around them change. As the 10 minutes pass, everyone remains on high alert and searches the storage room. The confessed man continues trembling and wonders why nothing has happened yet. The senior officer accuses him of being on drugs and demands the truth about why he confessed. The man tries to explain that he really saw the monster, but before he can finish, Woo Jinchul senses a presence and shouts for it to reveal itself. Suddenly, a shadow emerges and slams both officers to the ground. A group of ant shadows appears, and Woo Jinchul is shocked to see 3 ant shadows. The confessed man screams in terror as the ant shadows charge at him and kill him brutally. Woo Jinchul trembles and steps back, unable to comprehend the situation. One of the ant shadows looks at him and smiles as if glad to see him. Woo Jinchul is confused by the smile and feels as though he has encountered something like this before. Later, they return to the police station and lie that the confessed man escaped after attacking them. The captain is furious at their failure to perform their duties as police officers. He demands an explanation from Woo Jinchul, who called the ambulance. Woo Jinchul explains that he was still in shock when the man escaped. The captain feels relieved that they did not report the incident to their higher-ups and orders them not to speak about it. He covers up their injuries by claiming they were hurt while investigating the Guro district gang. A few days later, Woo Jinchul continues working on the case as he suspects something unusual is happening. His junior officer asks why he is still investigating the previous case. Woo Jinchul explains that he is looking into it for personal reasons. The junior officer is surprised to discover that a significant number of criminals have confessed their crimes at other police stations as well. He notes that the number of criminals dropped significantly at the end of February and the start of March. Woo Jinchul asks if there is anything strange about the dates. The junior officer reveals that this is the time when schools reopen. However, Woo Jinchul decides to investigate this new information. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a school where Jinwoo begins attending his first day of school. The principal warns Mr. Park about Jinwoo and informs him that Jinwoo will be attending their school. Mr. Park looks at Jinwoo's profile and notices that his father is a firefighter and his mother is a housewife. He also observes that Jinwoo has good grades. Mr. Park remarks that he does not see anything unusual about Jinwoo, but the principal advises him to check the statement about Jinwoo's absence from school. Mr. Park is startled to discover that Jinwoo ran away for 2 years during his first year of middle school. The principal asks if Mr. Park can handle Jinwoo, and Mr. Park confidently declares that he can turn any troublemaker into an obedient student and that they will never cause trouble again in their lives. The entire school calls Mr. Park Cobra because of his strict methods in dealing with troublesome students. Meanwhile, all the students line up and Jinwoo joins them. The students around Jinwoo feel uneasy, and Mr. Park notices him among the crowd. With a sinister smile, Mr. Park walks toward Jinwoo and remarks that he will turn him into an obedient lamb. He looks for a reason to confront Jinwoo and notices that he is wearing a glove which violates the school dress code. Mr. Park seizes the opportunity and starts shouting at Jinwoo, demanding to know why he is wearing a glove. Jinwoo slowly looks at him with a deathly gaze. Mr. Park begins sweating nervously as he senses an overwhelming aura surrounding Jinwoo. In an attempt to cover his fear, Mr. Park turns away and shouts at the other students. He starts to wonder if he is imagining things around Jinwoo. Bellion informs Jinwoo that the teacher might have seen the shadows, and Jinwoo agrees, worrying that this could be a side effect of his powers. Jinwoo goes back to his class, and one of his classmates approaches him. He introduces himself as Young Gil. He mentions that they went to the same middle school and asks if Jinwoo still lives in the same neighborhood just as him. Suddenly, a group of bullies approaches them, and one of them pushes Young Gil. Jinwoo feels irritated as the bullies surround him, and bullies start asking random questions. They mock him for wearing a glove, asking if he is trying to act like a hotshot and why he is wearing the glove on only one hand. One of them jokes about whether he sealed a black flaming dragon inside the glove. Jinwoo realizes that they are trying to assert dominance over him. One of the bullies demands that Jinwoo take off his glove, but Jinwoo remains silent, and this frustrates them further. Another bully speculates that Jinwoo might have a tattoo on his hand. Baru becomes furious at their disrespect and requests permission to punish them for insulting his king. Jinwoo denies Baru's request and decides to show his left hand to the bullies. Jinwoo removes his glove, and his classmates are shocked to see his hand. Jinwoo recalls that he got the injury during his fight with Antares, and that even his healing magic could not heal the wound. He sarcastically asks if they have never seen a burn before. One of the bullies nervously lies that he was just joking and had no intention of harming Jinwoo. Another student requests Jinwoo to put the glove back, saying that his hand looks gross and might give him nightmares. Baru, unable to control his anger, charges at the bullies and enters their shadows, causing them to fall to the ground. The rest of the students laugh at the bullies, and Baru returns to Jinwoo. Jinwoo also laughs and feels proud of how Baru always looks out for him. During a class break, Jinwoo and Young Gil head out together. Young Gil comments that Jinwoo has changed a lot over the past 3 years and is no longer intimidated by bullies. He asks if Jinwoo started working out while he was gone. Jinwoo thinks for a moment and responds that he trained a lot during the last few years. Young Gil suggests that Jinwoo join the sports club. Jinwoo feels happy hearing about the club and mentions that he wants to join a specific one. They both decide to join the track and field club. Choi Tae-woong, the captain of the track and field club, is surprised to hear that Jinwoo wants to join their club. One of the club members boldly questions if they really want Jinwoo in their club, while another smirks and remarks that they have never had a freshman request to join in their first year. Choi Tae-woong asks if Jinwoo has any athletic experience or running background. Jinwoo responds that he has never run before during his middle school years. One of the club members points out that club is for athletes and questions Jinwoo's true intentions for joining despite having no experience. Jinwoo explains that he wants to meet someone in the track and field competition. He thinks to himself that he will meet Cha Hain in the future if he participates in the competition, as she was a talented track and field star before awakening as an S-rank hunter. One of the club members becomes furious at Jinwoo's reason for joining, but Choi Tae-woong stops him and mentions that there is a condition. Choi Tae-woong explains that Jinwoo needs to win against the second-year reserve member if he wants to join their club. Jinwoo looks at the person and quickly realizes that the captain is lying, as the person appears more athletic and radiates an aura of confidence. Despite this, Jinwoo decides to participate in the competition. The club member smirks and mocks Jinwoo for not recognizing someone who won third place in last year's regional competition. He becomes confident that Jinwoo will fail and will not be able to join their club. The captain suggests placing a bet to make the competition more interesting. He explains that if Jinwoo wins, he can join the club, but if he loses, he will have to do their laundry and cleaning for free for a month. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Mr. Park, and his colleague asks if he is feeling better, and Mr. Park responds that he feels fine now. He decides to take a smoking break and heads to the break room. As he looks out the window, he notices Jinwoo running with the track and field club members. Mr. Park becomes furious seeing Jinwoo competing with other students. One of the club members informs him that Jinwoo has requested to join their club and is currently competing with other students. He explains that if Jinwoo wins, he can join the club. He further adds that they are also testing Jinwoo's endurance and mentions that this is his 20th lap. The club member admits that he got bored of watching them run so many laps and decided to come to the break room. Mr. Park begins to feel bad for misjudging Jinwoo's character. He decides to treat Jinwoo without prejudice and resolves to clear up the misunderstanding about him. However, he suddenly feels an overwhelming aura radiating from Jinwoo and starts shouting nervously. He wonders if he is hallucinating, but suddenly Beru appears in front of him and lets out a terrifying roar. Mr. Park collapses and loses consciousness after seeing Beru. Igris approaches Beru and questions why he scared the human. However, Beru ignores Igris' remarks and realizes that Mr. Park can see all the shadows. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Officer Woo, and his junior officer questions if he actually saw something strange on Other Day as he was investigating the case of the criminals who came to the station to confess. Officer Woo knows exactly what his junior is referring to, but denies it and claims that he does not know what day he is talking about. His junior tries to jog his memory and mentions the day when the confessed criminal disappeared. Officer Woo recalls the traumatic memories and nervously admits that he saw an ant monster on that day. The junior officer asks for clarification if it was a giant ant monster, and Officer Woo explains that it was not a giant monster, but simply an ant monster. The junior officer follows up with another question and asks if the ant monster resembled a human. Officer Woo tries to recollect his memories. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to the competition between Jinwoo and the track and field club members. The captain tries to motivate his team by declaring that their goal is to win nationals. One of the members questions why the captain is saying nationals instead of regionals. The captain insists that they should aim higher and tells them to repeat that their goal is to win nationals. Meanwhile, Younggil decides to join the club along with Jinwoo and participates in the competition. He struggles to even breathe, but continues to push himself to keep up with the others. Jinwoo wonders why Younggil is joining the club, and Bellion comments that humans are foolish creatures. Jinwoo decides to use his healing magic to fully recover Younggil's fatigue. Younggil feels his body burning up as he is fully healed and suddenly starts running at high speed. The captain is shocked to see a freshman overtaking the seniors and urges his team to keep up with Younggil to maintain their respect as seniors. The scene shifts back to Officer Woo's conversation, and Mr. Park overhears them talking about an ant monster that looks like a human. Mr. Park laughs at their discussion and apologizes for his behavior, explaining that he is drunk. Officer Woo requests Mr. Park to provide more information about the ant shadow. Meanwhile, the scene then shifts to Jinwoo, who notices that Mr. Park has been keeping an eye on him for the past few days. Bellion advises Jinwoo to erase Mr. Park's memories and take away his ability to see shadows. However, Jinwoo decides to observe Mr. Park a little longer. Officer Woo arrives at the school to investigate further about the shadows. He has a hunch that there might be a connection between the ant shadows and the monsters that Mr. Park claimed to have seen around one of his students. Officer Woo feels unsure about how to start the conversation and wonders how Jinwoo would react if he asked him about ant monsters with 2 legs. He worries that Jinwoo might think he is crazy. Officer Woo suddenly senses a strong presence around him. Jinwoo receives information about Officer Woo from the Shadow Guard and wonders if Officer Woo has spotted his shadow. Officer Woo enters Jinwoo's classroom and introduces himself as a police officer. The students begin to feel uneasy as they wonder why a police officer has come to their classroom. Officer Woo reassures them not to worry and explains that he is only there to ask Jinwoo a few questions. Jinwoo praises Officer Woo for his sharp senses in finding him despite having no past memories. Jinwoo starts walking out of the classroom while the other students murmur among themselves, speculating that Jinwoo might be in trouble. Officer Woo apologizes for interrupting the class, and Jinwoo feels happy to meet Officer Woo after several decades. He recalls their multiple encounters in the past timeline and reflects on how much has changed. Officer Woo looks into Jinwoo's eyes and realizes that Jinwoo is different from others. He struggles to figure out how to start the conversation about the shadows and decides to show Jinwoo a drawing of the ant shadow. Jinwoo is impressed with Officer Woo's drawing and remarks that he recognizes the picture. Officer Woo becomes overly excited and starts asking for more information about the shadow and about Jinwoo himself. Realizing that he got too excited, he calms himself and explains that he has been working on the case for a long time. He asks Jinwoo again about the ant shadow. Jinwoo responds that he saw the monster in a TV show that kids like to watch. Officer Wu becomes frustrated with Jinwoo's response and quickly snatches the drawing back from him. He adds that Jinwoo will not face any trouble from their teacher, as he has already explained the situation beforehand. Jinwoo requests the drawing, and Buru pleads with Jinwoo not to take it. However, Jinwoo decides to take the drawing anyway, and Officer Wu starts leaving. Igris questions why Jinwoo does not tell the truth to Officer Wu, and Jinwoo explains that forgetting tragic memories is a blessing from God, even though Officer Wu lost his memories due to the Cup of Reincarnation. Jinwoo returns to his class and suddenly becomes popular with the girls. A few girls approach him and start asking about Officer Wu and his relationship with him. Jinwoo explains that he knows Officer Wu personally. One girl becomes excited that Jinwoo is friends with a police officer and starts asking a bunch of random questions. They ask if Jinwoo's body is really toned and if he plays any sports. One of the girls mentions that she saw Jinwoo running with the field and track seniors the other day and is surprised by how broad his shoulders are. Suddenly, the girl is pushed aside as the bully from before returns with his other three friends. The bully notices that Jinwoo is getting popular with both girls and police officers and asks him if he would file a police complaint against them, even though he is just messing with him. He challenges Jinwoo to take their fight outside and demands that Jinwoo lower his head while talking to him. Suddenly, someone grabs the bully by the throat. The captain of the field and track club squeezes their throat and demands to know what business they have with their ace club member. Jinwoo asks why the club members are in his classroom, and the captain jokingly responds that he came to stop Jinwoo from beating all 4 students to a pulp. He then invites Jinwoo to their freshers welcoming party and asks him to bring Youngil along. The captain and the club member leave the classroom, taking the bullies with them. Jinwoo asks what they plan to do with the bullies, and the captain decides to take them for a jog around the track. Later, Jinwoo meets with the captain again, and the captain expresses concern that the bullies might interrupt Jinwoo during practice. He offers to give the bullies a warning. Jinwoo assures him that he has no problem with the bullies and that he will make sure they do not interfere with his competition. Suddenly, someone calls out to Jinwoo. Jinwoo turns to see Officer Wu waiting for him. Officer Wu requests a few minutes to speak with him. The captain reminds Jinwoo to come quickly to the welcome party and jokingly says he will keep Jinwoo's friend as a hostage until he shows up. Jinwoo jokingly tells Officer Wu that his friend's life is on the line and that he cannot spend much time with him. Officer Wu feels happy to see Jinwoo and asks if he really is Sung Jinwoo. He reveals how he came to know about the past timeline and mentions that after giving the drawing to Jinwoo, he thought their encounter was an insignificant incident. He reflects on how some of the most significant moments in history often begin with such small events. Officer Wu feels foolish for coming to a school to inquire about an ant monster, but suddenly hears a voice asking if he trusts him. Officer Wu looks back and finds nothing but still responds that he trusts him. The voice speaks again and mentions that he hopes Officer Wu will trust what he is about to show him. Suddenly, the entire past timeline flashes before Officer Wu's eyes. He keeps hearing the name Sung Jinwoo and realizes that the student he just met is also Sung Jinwoo. He sees himself in the forgotten world through Jinwoo's eyes and recalls the entire story of magic beasts, gates, monarchs, and rulers. Officer Wu struggles to believe the new memories he has gained and remembers how Jinwoo once explained that the memories of monarchs and rulers are not affected by the flow of time. Officer Wu asks how long Jinwoo fought the monarchs in the dimensional rift and recalls how Sung Jinwoo disappeared for 2 years. He remarks that it would have been impossible for Jinwoo to defeat the monarchs in such a short time. Jinwoo shockingly reveals that he fought the monarchs for a total of 27 years. Officer Wu questions if Jinwoo regrets his decision to turn back time. Jinwoo explains that he has no regrets and that he would make the same decision every time if given the choice. Officer Wu understands that Jinwoo is happy with his life, and Jinwoo mentions that he is indeed happy, except for the fact that he has to change his physical body every now and then since he can no longer age. Officer Wu realizes that Jinwoo's immortality has elevated him to the level of gods. He has chosen to live a normal human life despite his enormous powers. Officer Wu asks if Jinwoo has chosen a career path yet, and Jinwoo replies that he has not decided. Officer Wu requests Jinwoo to consider becoming a police officer and explains that confessed criminals are terrified of the shadows. Jinwoo jokingly remarks that if he joins the police, the other officers might have nothing to do. Officer Wu responds that this is the kind of world they are trying to create. Jinwoo decides to give it some thought and Officer Wu mentions that he will look forward to his answer. Jinwoo advises him not to wait for his response, as he is already overworking himself, and the scene shifts to a traveler. Something strange appears in the sky around the end of April, and the traveler calls the emergency center to report the incident. He struggles to describe the phenomenon, and finally mentions that cracks are appearing in the sky, and that the sky seems to be crumbling. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Jinwoo's apartment, where Igris is teaching mathematics to Jinwoo, and explains that the problem can be solved in 24 different ways. Jinwoo suddenly senses something strange, and meets with the ruler's vessel to investigate further. The ruler's vessel nervously informs Jinwoo that the rulers have nothing to do with the phenomenon, and explains that their method of traveling to other worlds is different. Jinwoo asks if the vessel knows what kind of beings are approaching Earth. The vessel reveals that the beings are outsiders who once visited their world and were outcasted by their army. Jinwoo questions the reason why these beings are headed to Earth. The vessel explains that the beings are called Titans, who survive by consuming rocks on planets that sustain life. Jinwoo understands that the Titans are enemies and asks if they ever approached Earth before the Cup of Reincarnation was used. The vessel reveals that this is the first time the Titans are approaching Earth, and that they only targeted Ruler's world before the Cup of Reincarnation was used. Jinwoo realizes that the Titans are targeting Earth because of him. The Ruler's vessel explains that Titans have a habit of following traces of incredible power, and advises Jinwoo not to worry, as the Ruler's army is on its way to support them. Jinwoo worries that the Ruler's army will not arrive in time, as it would take years to create a gate between their worlds. He explains that Earth would already be in ruins by the time Rulers comes to Earth, and decides to handle the Titans himself. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a desert in the western part of the United States, where the government has sealed off the area and hired specialists to investigate the phenomenon. Despite their efforts, they are unable to find any answers. One of the researchers remarks that he has never seen anything like this before. Suddenly, all the tanks and vehicles begin floating into the air. Jinwoo uses his commander's authority to destroy the weapons, knowing that ordinary weapons will not work against the Titans. Jinwoo senses the Titans approaching the gate with fiery determination to devour Earth. He prepares for the battle and brings out his dagger for his final fight as a hunter. A large number of Titans emerge through the gate, and one of the Titans looks down at Jinwoo and mocks him by claiming that a single human being cannot defeat them. Jinwoo brings out multiple daggers and boldly responds that he is not alone. He summons all his shadows, along with new shadows he extracted from the monarch's army. The entire area becomes filled with 10 million shadows. Jinwoo smirks at the Titans and commands his shadows to charge at the enemies. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the White House, where the president is in disbelief that a crack appeared out of nowhere in the sky. He worries about how to handle this unprecedented event without addressing the public. The president meets with Harrison. Harrison informs him that everything is under control for now, and promises to explain the rest of the details in the meeting room. All the officials gather in the meeting room, and Harrison shows them a video of Jinwoo along with his shadows. The officials are shocked by the footage, and one of them questions if the person in the video is really an Asian. The president asks about the soldiers' whereabouts and why a civilian is among the creatures. Harrison becomes flustered and admits that he does not have answers to those questions. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to the battle, where Tusk uses the Orb of Avarice to unleash massive flames at the Titans. The single attack destroys a large number of Titans, while the rest of the giant shadows charge at the enemies. Jinwoo also dashes forward and slashes multiple Titans at incredible speed. He controls all the daggers using his commander's authority and kills the Titans instantly. He creates massive daggers using the power of darkness and attacks the Titans, breaking them into pieces. Jinwoo strikes the head of the Titan with his daggers, but the Titan breaks few of them with his bare hands. The Titan mocks Jinwoo for his futile attempts, but suddenly senses danger approaching. Jinwoo uses his power of darkness to transform his hand into a massive hand and slams the Titan to the ground. The Titan becomes intrigued by Jinwoo's skills and remarks that it is surprising to find such a skilled fighter on a remote planet. He realizes that Jinwoo is using mana to increase the size of his body parts to maximize his power, and calls humans a primitive species for their ability to wield such strength. The Titan significantly decreases his body size and explains that only the best warriors among the Titans can use this transformation to achieve their full power. He offers to spare Jinwoo's life if he begs for forgiveness, but suddenly Belian attacks him with a centipede sword, and a dragon shadow finishes him off. Belian apologizes for interrupting their conversation conversation, and Jinwoo comments that the Titans seem more arrogant than expected. He commands Bellion to ensure the Titans are taught a proper lesson. Bellion assures Jinwoo to leave everything to him and destroys multiple Titans with a single attack. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to the United States officials meeting, where the president questions if they have at least identified the boy in the video. Harrison shakes his head, indicating that he does not know the answer. The president watches Jinwoo fighting and remarks that it feels like a movie scene as Jinwoo destroys the creatures like toys. David Brennan meets with the president and explains that they cannot find the information through normal means. He advises using unconventional methods to uncover the truth about the boy. The president starts sweating and questions if Brennan is referring to Norma Selner. Brennan confirms that he is indeed talking about Selner and suggests that she might have the answers they need. A few days later, Jinwoo participates in the field and track competition and is shocked to see Kim Chul, who used to be his shadow known as Iron, also participating in the competition. The captain of Kim Chul from another school mocks Jinwoo's captain for choosing first years in every event. He remarks that they must be desperate to choose first years and taunts that Sangin must be terrible at the game since he was replaced by a mere first-year student as the ace player. Jinwoo's captain confidently responds that Jinwoo will make other schools run circles around the field. Jinwoo feels slightly agitated seeing his captain's confidence in him. Kim Chul's captain laughs at them and sarcastically praises Jinwoo's captain for focusing more on jokes than on running practice. He mentions that Kim Chul, a first-year student, is also competing in the event today. However, Kim Chul feels overwhelmed as he looks at Jinwoo. He is shocked by the strange urge in his heart to kneel before Jinwoo and wonders if he has met him before. He starts trembling and worries that he might be afraid of Jinwoo, even though they are in the same grade. To everyone's surprise, Kim Chul suddenly shouts that he is not afraid of anyone. His outburst startles his club members, and they ask if he is all right. Kim Chul approaches Jinwoo and glares at him, feeling confident that he can overpower him. He tells Jinwoo to come outside for a small talk. Jinwoo, with an uninterested expression, looks at Kim Chul, while his club members jokingly request Jinwoo not to kill Kim Chul on their first day of competition. They urge Jinwoo to be a big man and let Kim Chul live to see another day. Jinwoo promises that he will not hurt him, and one of the club members remarks that Kim Chul should at least be able to walk back to the track on his own. Jinwoo and Kim Chul step outside, and Kim Chul suddenly grabs Jinwoo's track shirt. He boldly questions if Jinwoo thinks they are on the same level just because they are standing in the same stadium. All the shadows get excited seeing Iron again and welcome him back to their squad. Bellion requests permission to teach Iron a lesson so this does not happen again. Out of nowhere, tears begin to drip from Kim Chul's eyes. He drops to his knees and starts trembling, wondering what is happening to him. Jinwoo decides to leave Kim Chul alone, understanding that he is living his life as a human again. Kim Chul stops Jinwoo and unexpectedly expresses that he might love him. Jinwoo is completely caught off guard by this revelation. He uses his commander's authority to get Kim Chul back on his feet and comes up with a cover story. He explains that they fought and that Kim Chul realized Jinwoo is the son of a friend's son, so Kim Chul decides to leave Jinwoo alone. Jinwoo snaps his fingers to make Kim Chul fall unconscious and tells him to be proud of himself as one of the people who fought to protect the world. He hopes that Iron will live as a better person from now on. After a while, Kim Chul wakes up and starts shaking nervously and looks around to check for Jinwoo. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Brennan, who goes to meet Selner at her house. Selner feels happy to see him, and Brennan decides not to waste her time and gets straight to the point. Selner explains that she can no longer foresee the future as she lost her ability after meeting the god of death. However, she decides to answer some of Brennan's questions. Before Brennan can ask, Selner says yes to the first question and no to the second. Brennan is shocked that Selner answered his questions before he could even ask them, despite losing her ability to see the future. Selner explains that she got the questions from the past and simply guessed the answers might be correct. She refuses to provide more information about Jinwoo, but Brennan urges her to share more details, arguing that Jinwoo's godly powers could threaten the world. Selner responds that she is aware of the danger and reminds Brennan that he has seen Jinwoo's powers in the footage. Selner further explains that Jinwoo did not back down from the fight against the terrifying creation and praises him for using his immense powers to save humanity. Brennan begins to understand her reasoning, but Selner drops a shocking truth by revealing that this is not the first time Jinwoo has saved the world. Brennan is completely caught off guard by this revelation and questions if humanity has been threatened multiple times. He guesses that Selner might be right. As he prepares to leave, he asks if she can guarantee that Jinwoo is not a threat to humanity. Selner confidently assures him that Jinwoo is not a threat to human life. Brennan remarks that he will act as though he heard nothing from her. Thomas approaches Selner, mentioning that he does not like Brennan at all and offers to take care of him. Selner urges Thomas not to waste his professional fighting career by getting into trouble, as one more incident could result in a ban from fighting. Selner gives Thomas some cookies, which he devours instantly. Thomas questions why Selner saved him from a car accident when there are so many accidents happen every day. Selner explains that Thomas did many good things in his past life. Thomas does not believe her, thinking of himself as a bad guy and the devil of UFC. He asks why Brennan is so worried about the boy in the footage. Selner explains that the boy saved the world. Thomas laughs, thinking Selner is joking again, but he still finds her to be a very interesting person. Thomas wonders what the boy might be doing now, and Selner guesses that Jinwoo might be enjoying his youth.